Hi, Lori. If you can hear me, welcome.
So Scott, no Louisiana water thrush?
What about the thrush?
You didn't get, no, it wasn't there?
I didn't see it,
No.
definitely. I don't know if anyone's seen it since it was.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like anyone has seen it.
Yeah. Interesting record. Hmm.
Hi, Janet. Hi, Lori. How you guys doing? Amy and Ann, new to me. Two Amy's. No, one Ann, one Amy, two Anns.
How are you, Janice? I was muted.
I am pretty good. Pretty
It's-
good.
Hey, Scott.
Evening, how are you?
Good. How are you?
That's fine.
Good.
That's fine.
Now birds are all singing these days, huh?
Aren't they though, huh?
God, yes. I
Red-winged
couldn't believe
blackbirds
it.
are out there calling, titmice, mourning doves.
Best bird of the day. Anybody got a best bird of the day? Lori's saying hello. Again, no mic, right, Lori? Lori writes in the chat. She doesn't have a mic.
Hi, everyone.
Ring-billed.
Hi, Elaine.
Hi.
I had two ring-billed. I had a ringneck pheasant and a ring-billed duck.
And where are your rings? Show us. Show us something to prove for it.
There's a lot of ducks. There's a lot of ducks on Lower Mill Pond in East Hampton.
Oh. Okay. What else is there?
Some of the only open water around.
Well, true.
Oh, besides the river.
Yeah.
This was a popular one, Scott. Emails coming in left and right.
Ugh. I don't know why.
We were trying to figure that out too, but better use. No, I get, there are a lot of
Tried
people
to-
interested.
I tried to beef up my introduction, so.
Oh, good. Uh,
That needs no introduction.
That's what I
People are
was
excited.
thinking. We might have some new people that don't remember exactly how long he's been bird watching.
it's starting to get up there, isn't it?
Is it in 3 digits yet?
Not quite yet.
This is what happens when you're in COVID situations.
That's
Right.
right.
But I have both vaccinations.
Well, good for
good.
you.
I go tomorrow.
They're giving you 2 for the price of 1?
I hope. One in each arm, you know? Then I don't have to wait.
Anybody else having luck getting them? No?
Some people like Scott are too young.
Yeah, we don't qualify for it yet.
Yeah.
You gonna say anything?
Tom
too
and
far
I are
behind.
getting it tomorrow.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I got mine, but I'm fortunate to work in healthcare,
Mm.
There you
or
go.
maybe.
Or, or not. No, that's a good thing.
Hi, Lois Richardson.
Let me open this up.
She's flying under the radar.
Oh, there
No.
we go.
So somebody sent me a picture the other day of, said, this is in my yard, Sharpie or Cooper's. I go, okay, I'll know the next, I'll know on Thursday.
Right. I'll get back
Yeah,
to you
well.
on Friday, Thursday.
You may and you may not.
I know.
That's the thing.
You could go around the country, Scott, offering this.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think so. We've got 3 Laura Beltrans up.
I know. And the Hampshire Bird Club. Usually she's the Hampshire Bird Club too.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just admitting people. And what happened was I shared my personal link with folks, and that's why they come on as Laura Beltran.
Oh,
So
okay.
if those folks want, you can change your name by actually putting your cursor over your face, and you'll see 3 blue dots, and then you can press rename. Otherwise, it really doesn't matter, but you might want to rename yourselves.
Let's all
Yes,
rename
yeah,
ourselves to
Sharpie.
Laura Beltran.
Right.
Yeah, or we could all be
Yes,
Laura
right,
Beltran,
right.
that would be pretty funny.
28
Anyway,
more.
I will turn my video on in a minute. This is going to take a while, so.
Yeah, I like the older system, Laura.
What do we have?
Another Laura Beltran came on.
Yeah. And
I knew that
decided
was
I'd
such a
change-
popular name.
Right. I saw Sarah G. Is that Sarah Griesmer?
She might not.
Yes,
might
there
not.
she is. I see
She
her.
is.
She's in the shadows, but I see.
Oh, Sarah. Caitlin.
Oh, Janice Doppler changed her name.
I went.
Janice-
Yes, she did. It's like, will the real Janice Doppler show up? Okay.
Right.
Now, there's $100 waiting for the first person who sees a Sharpie tomorrow, and there's $200 for the first person who sees a Cooper's. And you need to send
You
in your
should've-
photo.
Should have reversed it. The Coopers would be easier to see than the Sharpie.
Oh, I had a Cooper's today. This is one day
Yeah.
late.
Do we have to
Okay,
have a
so
photograph?
we're going to reverse that.
Yeah.
Do we have to have a photograph?
You have to have a photograph.
I have a
Oh,
photograph.
man. You're getting like those eBird people. You don't have a photograph, you didn't see it.
That's right.
Laura, are you listening?
That's
real Laura?
discriminatory. Because you have, that means affluent people with cameras are only participating.
I
Or you
know.
have to sneak up very closely to them.
Yeah. Tail feathers are good, you know. Ah,
There's still people writing us. I thought they thought they registered.
no.
Well, I got 2 sign-in. One of them worked and one of them didn't.
Well, we changed a couple things, I think, midway,
Yeah, so,
but all of us got the right one.
yeah, I'm glad I did.
Janice, are you still carving?
I haven't been carving much lately.
Hmm.
I've been doing a lot of writing and a lot of nature journaling. But
Okay.
my carving is kind of on the back burner right now. And a lot of the nature journaling informs my carving because I see better, so I carve better.
Okay. If you don't know, Janice Doppler is a local bird carver.
Mhm.
I've been to one of her shows.
Yeah, that's right, you have. One of
That was
the, right after that show, I had an exhibit in the at Lathrop. They have a display case, and I had
Mhm.
15 carvings in their display case, and they were supposed to be there for 6 weeks. But in that 6 week period, the COVID lockdown happened, so they were in for over 6 months. They were on display at the senior center.
But how much joy did they bring?
Probably a lot. I hope they didn't get tired of them and, they just walk by the same old thing every day. So I told myself that they were making people happy and bringing a little bit of nature into their days,
That's great.
that they were there.
Okay, I have Christmas bird count trivia. And you might have seen it if you was posted on the Hampshire Bird Club Facebook, but how many total birds have been seen since 1934 when Hampshire Bird Club started their Christmas bird counts?
216.
Total birds, not species.
Oh,
Oh, no idea.
Anybody got a
2.5 million.
guess? Got a guess?
2.5 million.
No, not that many.
What? Scott used to see 50,000 starlings at the bridge alone.
That's right.
That was our biggest year that year. I think it was like 1970. Over 1.5 million birds have been seen.
Oh, that's
Wow.
way
The
off.
first year, there were like 1,200 birds and like 25 species. And
Wow.
and of all the birds that have been seen in our Christmas bird count, I'm not counting well, maybe I'm counting a subspecies. I got to remember. So how many overall birds, different species since 1934?
216.
No, that's too high.
Okay.
I
And
don't
the
know,
most
but-
we've ever seen one year is 91. Only twice have we had 91.
What do you think? 160?
160, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Higher. 170?
But
Well,
low,
you're getting closer to Jim's. Yeah.
right?
We are closer to him, but we don't break the 200 threshold.
All right.
191.
No, I guess I'll tell you. 185.
Oh,
That's pretty good. So do you happen to remember, not that you were there, and I'm not implying you were there in 1934. What species, for example, in 1934, I'm thinking that cardinal wasn't there, or mockingbird,
That's right. That's right.
titmouse,
titmouse.
red-bellied woodpecker.
No, yeah.
Or what about turkey vulture?
No.
Right,
I don't even know if it was in the US.
What?
turkey vultures?
I'm just saying, it's like there's a lot of that stuff that we like.
No, I'm
what?
just, yeah, I mean, but yeah, turkey vulture in December in general, even nowadays is not.
Right.
Yeah, that's for sure. They kind of disappear for a little while and then reappear around now when things start warming up a bit. Already been
Okay.
reported.
Okay, so it's,
Can anybody tell me what kind of feather this is? It's 11.5 inches long.
All looks solid, one color?
Yeah, it's all solid. This is the back.
Raven, crow.
Oh, it looks big.
You know where to find, where to get help? There's a
Ooh.
great feather website.
Really?
Yes.
Don't
Yeah.
show it if it's a bald eagle feather.
What did you say?
Don't show it if it's a bald eagle feather.
It actually, I think it could be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it might be.
It,
Yeah.
I
it
was thinking like if it didn't have any color in it, then thinking maybe it could have been a turkey, but a big
yeah,
feather,
yeah, it has no color.
Looks like.
or
a
even
big-
maybe a turkey vulture.
Hmm.
Okay, but what was the website, Janice?
That's why I'm looking it up, and I'll post it in the chat here
Okay,
for everybody, okay?
Yeah, it was in my driveway. And we do get turkey vultures. We get eagles occasionally.
I found it. I'll put it in.
Ravens occasionally. We had 2 ravens and 2 turkeys together interacting this week.
Hmm.
Okay. It's a fish and wildlife website, first of all. So
Yeah,
you know.
Sarah just put it in the chat.
Okay,
right. Okay, well, we have 25 participants, which is almost all of us. There's a few more, so I will be keeping an eye out on the waiting room and my email. But Scott, I think we can get started. I don't know if Jim, being the education committee chairperson, if you wanted to say anything, but I'm
Yeah, I
gonna
was
mute
just
myself
gonna-
and stop my
most-
video. Yeah,
Most people know Scott, but I was just going to do a real brief introduction. This is Scott Surner is going to be our presenter tonight. Scott's one of the original organizers of the Hampshire Bird Club, which happened about 35 years ago. He's been the president on and off over the years. He's done some long stints as the president, and he's remained active with the club throughout. He's been offering beginning bird classes at the Hitchcock Center for many years. He's also led field trips for the bird club and is an excellent birder. I always learn something new from Scott.
Yay. All right, well, welcome everybody. Somehow I'm honored, and yet I feel like I drew the short straw on this topic tonight. But we'll see. It's a topic, it's an ID problem that's gone on for many years and will continue to go on. Hopefully we'll show you I'll show you a bunch of slides tonight, and we'll go over some of the key field marks between Sharpshin and Cooper's Hawk. But you also got to realize you're not going to be able to identify every one of them. It's just, I see pictures on Facebook, which I have some in the program tonight. And, you know, pictures are hard. Photographing birds is not easy. And sometimes you don't get very good shots. Other ones are pretty straightforward, etc. Let me see if hopefully I get this thing going here.
I'm gonna get a beer. I think I need.
Maybe it's this one. That won't go.
Please mute your mics if you're not.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. So I pulled out this. Oh, can you see it all? Because it blocks, some of it blocks off because of the people on. Can everyone read that?
Looks good.
Yeah, looks great.
Okay. Yeah, I pulled this out of the Hawks in Flight book. There's a little paragraph in the in there about accipiter identification. So for those, you know, I know we have a broad range of people out here, and you know, some might be very much beginners, and other people have been doing this for a while. Accipiters are true bird hawks. They are, there's 3 species that we focus on here in North America. That's the sharp-shinned hawk, the Cooper's hawk, and on rare occasions, the northern goshawk. Accipiters are, in general, have short, rounded wings, longer tails. It makes them very agile in flight. And their maneuverability through the forest and through the thickets and the brush is amazing. You're not going to see buteos, things like red-tailed hawks in general, and red-shouldered hawks, merlins, peregrine falcons, ripping through the understory looking for birds and whatever else they can find. Okay, I did pull out some photos because I don't have all the photos that I need. I tried to pull some off Facebook, and I hope I gave proper credit to those who pushed them there, and some other sites too. But we'll start out with the sharp-shinned hawk. In general, it's probably the most common of the accipiters, or at least it has been. The Cooper's hawk is, I think, catching up quite a bit. The sharp-shinned hawk is the smallest of the 3 accipiters, and we've got to looking at adults versus immatures of each species. And if I forget something, we'll have some questions afterwards, and feel free to, you know, jog my memory here. But adult sharp-shins, you have nice blue-gray back here, orange barring on the white underparts here. They generally appear smaller headed than the Cooper's hawk. They kind of give you a large eye look to them. And their head is a little bit more rounded. You don't get a lot of, it's kind of one color going from the top of the head to the back here. You don't get, where in the Cooper's hawk, which you'll see where the nape is a little bit lighter and sets off the cap. The tail in general is squared or notched, but again, that's not always the case. They also lack, which you'll see in some of my photos of Cooper's hawks, and Jeff LeBaron actually put me onto this. Cooper's hawks have this fierce looking expression about them, where the sharp-shinned hawk generally does not. So these little things. And if you get a nice look at the legs are really stick-like. They're not real thick legs of the Cooper's hawk. So in sharp-shinned hawks, they breed up and into Canada, and they're the hardest, apparently. Did a little research on this. They're the hardest, one of the hardest species in North America to monitor on the nest, because they're so secretive. They nest in conifers and spruce trees, and they're really tough to monitor. So, which I thought was pretty interesting. And this is one I took at my feeder through the window. This is a male sharp-shinned hawk, and the reason I say it's a male is because it was this was a tiny hawk when it came in. You can see the legs here show up fairly well, really stick-like. Again, kind of that large eye, and has a little bit more of a darker cap. But the nape really isn't that. It kind of blends right into the nape here. Tail, it's hard to see, but it is notched. And again, now sharp-shinned hawks, one of the some of the confusion at times is that years ago when I first started birding, it was always thought that female sharp-shinned hawks would overlap with males Cooper's hawks, and that's not the case. They can come close, but there is no overlap between the species from the things I've read over the years. That doesn't make it necessarily any easier to identify these birds, but at least you have that going for us. Here's another shot of that bird. Now, sharp-shinned hawks size range, just to give you an idea, will range anywhere from like the size of a robin to the size of a pigeon, just to give you some type of idea how big they are. The males, the females are always larger. They're like a third larger than the males. And one of these references I took down is that at times the female can be 83% heavier than the male, which is amazing. Here's another one. Again, kind of a small-headed look to it, kind of a large eye, very squared off tail. This is probably an immature bird or a female. Females are brownish on the back. I couldn't remember seeing the front on this particular bird. There's another Sharpie, and this one taken in California. Again, legs are really tiny right here. Small-headed, large eye. Well, this bird, which we'll get into, this bird has a little white on the tip of the tail, which is more of a field mark for a Cooper's hawk, but again, everything's a little variable. And again, this happens to be an immature. Now, again, we've been talking about adults, and now we'll get into the immatures. And again, right now we're talking about birds that you're seeing at your feeder. These birds will obviously appear differently when they're, if you're at a hawk site and you're watching migration. This is an immature sharp-shinned hawk that's taken outside at my feeder. The streaking on the sharp-shinned hawk is different. It's wider. I saw it described as darker and more noodle-like, if you will. Legs are really tiny on this bird, small-headed. But the streaking, you'll see this on photographs, the streaking on the Cooper's hawk is noticeably different. Here's another one. I took this over in Hadley, I think this fall. Again, small. Look at the streaking. And the streaking goes from the chest, and a lot of times it goes down into the belly, where the Cooper's hawks, most of the streaking is up in the upper chest area. Again, the immatures generally have yellowish eyes. As the birds get older, they will their eyes will darken up. Okay, if you're at a hawk, if you're watching, a hawk migration at a hawk site, in general, sharp-shins appear to be like the flying mallet I read. It's kind of the head barely projects beyond the edge of the wings right here. You can see the squared off tail. It's like a flying mallet, where the Cooper's hawk is more like a flying cross. But this is very backlit. It's just more of a silhouette than anything else. Now, in general, sharp-shinned hawks migrate in the fall. They can obviously start to show up at any time. Early September, late August, early September, but the bulk of them seems to go through late September into mid-October. And the immatures I've been reading seem to, they get most of the numbers of immatures along the coast, where inland sites seem, I guess, have more adults. One of the theories is it matures the first year migrating. They're more susceptible to being blown off course, et cetera, et cetera. Here's a sharp-shinned hawk taken out in this is behind the Hitchcock Center last fall. Again, small-headed. Can't get a lot of field marks right here, but you can see how coarse, dense the streaking is underneath this. Eye lines, both species can show an eye line or a supercilium, but you don't see it there all the time. Again, there's variables here. Pretty much squared off tail, little white on the edge there, but nothing major. Big-eyed look, again, that heavy streaking. And another angle there. And I wanted to speak about some of the books that are out there. Of course, many of you know, of course, the Sibley Guide, National Geographic, the Peterson Guide, all the standard field guides do a nice job on the identification of accipiters. If you want to take it to the next level, there's a number of guides. There's North American Raptors, Brian Wheeler, William S. Clark. Brian Wheeler has one of Raptors of Western North America. Hope you can see that. And this one is kind of fun. This one I've had for a while. It's the Crossley Guide. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the Crossley Guide. He does an Eastern and I think a Western now, but he does an Eastern. But he did a he has the one dedicated just to raptors, and it's really nice. And the fun part is he has all these pictures up, and it's kind of self-quiz. You can kind of go through it and try to ID and get the answers in the back of the book. It's kind of fun. I think it's been out for a while now. Another sharp-shinned hawk here. Again, the streaking goes right down into here. Now this bird is not like, you're not getting the flying mallet look to it right now because it's directly overhead. If you're watching these guys, the sharp-shinned hawk has very quick flap glide. It's very fast, where Cooper's hawks will be a little bit slower, and of course goshawks will be almost Buteo-like in the way they flap. Another sharp-shin here. Immature. By the heavy, wide streaking right in here. Nice little notch to the tail. Young bird also, I mean, obviously with the streaking, you see the yellow eye. If anybody has questions during this, feel free to kind of chime in, unless, Laura, you think that's not the best way to do this and save them to the end, you let me know.
No, I think that's fine. So if anyone has questions, yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. Type of prey that Sharpies will, I mean, again, most of their diet is going to be on birds, but they will also take insects, mammals, whatever. There was one thing I was reading where they opened up a sharp-shinned hawk and had 52 grasshoppers in there. So that was, and the type of prey, the largest prey that had been recorded that a sharp-shin took is a ruffed grouse. And the smallest was an Anna's hummingbird. I can't even imagine how that bird got the Anna's hummingbird, but okay, Cooper's Sharpie. Here's the Cooper's hawk over here. See, the streaking is really the upper part of the body here. It's a finer streaking, which I'm going to go over more when we get to more of these Cooper hawks slides. The rounded tail, it's a lankier bird, longer looking than the sharp shin. The head generally projects, and the wings are held straighter, and the head really projects noticeably beyond the wings. The Sharpie, again, heavy streaking here, wider streaking, squared off tail. Cooper's hawk. Now, Cooper's hawks in the last, I don't know, 30 years or so, they have really taken over the region. I mean, there are just so many Cooper's hawk. They have adapted to urban life, so to speak. They're nesting in neighborhoods, in industrial settings, etc. And they have just exploded up here in the Northeast. And just to give you a rough idea, I went into my eBird records and I just wanted to see how many Cooper's hawks entries I had versus Sharpshin hawks, because I've seen many more Cooper's hawks, at least I thought I had. And for example, I haven't seen a Sharpshin hawk at all this winter. Just haven't been at the right place at the right time, but I've seen a number of Cooper's hawks. So in my eBird history, I have 328 entries for Cooper's hawk. And for Sharpshin, it was like 189. So, you know, part of that could be just my area where I live, my patch could be just better for Cooper's hawks. And there is that, but there's just more Cooper's hawks around. So Cooper's hawks, they're crow size. Again, essentially they look like a Sharpshin hawk in the sense of the same. This is an adult bird here, orange barring, blue-gray back. But look at these legs, a lot thicker legs. The cap is, generally speaking, there are always exceptions, but generally speaking, you get this nice dark cap and a paler nape right in here. And as Jeff mentioned to me a couple of weeks ago, they always just have this fierce or meaner look to them than the Sharpshin. I mean, look at this. Here's the nape. And then a lot of times they raise the hackles on the back of their nape here, giving their head a kind of a squared off appearance. Again, that fierce look. Excuse me. Another Cooper's hawk here. I hope you can see this. Again, my window showing the people blocks some of this, but I took this off from Birds of North America just to give you an idea. These are juvenile Cooper's hawks. Female is on the left, male is on the right. In terms of this, just give you an idea of the size difference. The immatures, like this Sharpshin, the immatures, juveniles, they'll have these white feathering on the back here. And again, the Cooper's hawk generally has a whiter, a broader, whiter tip tail, very distinctively white, not grayish white. Hang on. I do not know what happened. Try this again. There we go. Okay. Here's Cooper's hawk. You can see that I put this in here because you can see that nice wide white tail right here. This is the bird that I had photographed just a moment ago. I was over at where my mother-in-law lives, and we're petting the goats, and this thing just flashes by me. I didn't even know what it was, and I looked all around. I didn't see it, and there's a Cooper hawk 12 feet from me, sitting on the fence post. And this is how they've been accustomed. They've been blended in so well with the neighborhoods, and he's just sat there, or she, and then it flew into the barn looking for mice and sat on the wheelbarrow. And this is what they do. They go down into, I've seen them just go into brush piles. I've seen them in hedgerows on the Cape. They just go into the hedgerow trying to flush things out. Now, in general, accipiters capture their prey by stealth. I mean, they're very quick. They do short, fast flights, and surprise is the name of the game with these guys for the most part. They'll use cars, they'll use houses, they'll use whatever they can to creep up on their prey to conceal them. Yeah, another adult Cooper's hawk. This is at my bird feeder. It was going around this Christmas tree, trying to flush out some juncos. They'll occasionally go to your bird bath. Again, you get a nice dark cap here, light nape. Another adult Cooper's here. That's a mean looking bird. This was a bird on my fence post. I happened to have my 500 millimeter or equivalent to that. And that was, I just blew it up just a little bit, but look how dark those eyes are. Nice adult bird. So this just gives you an example. This could work for sharp-shinned hawk too, but just gives you an example of how the eyes get darker as the bird gets older. This was on Birds of North America. Hang on.
It almost looks like we have a vertical stripe on the feet.
Why it's not going forward. Hang on. Stand by. All right, let me see if I can jump to the past this slide for whatever reason. Can't see the, let's see here, design.
Scott, if you need to stop sharing your screen to be able
Yeah, I
to
was
do
just wondering
this,
if that's
do that.
all right, stand by. That, folks. Oh, I lost the how do I minimize this, Janice? I got to get back to.
Are you trying to minimize the screen of everyone that you're seeing?
Yeah. Let me see here. I'm just trying to get to the.
Because you, I don't know if you have a Mac, but you have the
I have
three.
a PC. I got to
Oh.
get back to, for the program's not there, so I got to get back to. I don't leave the. I can't see my.
So make your Zoom screen smaller. Usually on the far right, there's like
Yeah.
for three
Exit full
boxes.
screen.
Yeah, exit full screen.
Oh,
That should
okay.
help you.
All right. Thank you. Just down a second. Yeah, for whatever reason. Oh, it just keeps going back to that. What's going on with this thing?
Your slides won't advance,
Well, they're not going past,
that one. Can you delete that one?
yeah,
Remove it.
I'm gonna go try to go back in here. Hang on.
Did you try scrolling down the left side where all your slides show up and then click on the one that follows?
Yeah, I gotta get,
Click on the one past that. and
Right.
then-
That might bypass it.
yeah, for some reason, that particular slide is,
So if you go back to your PowerPoint, Scott, you can just click slide by slide and it'll show up.
all right, I clicked that one. I deleted that slide there, so let me see if that did anything. Okay. Now I had to get you back here. Whoops. All right, so I got that working. I just gotta find you guys here. Apologize, but
And you want to go back to sharing your slides.
I
your
know, I gotta
screen.
find that. I gotta find, I'm not finding,
You found, it's a green, on ours, it's on the bottom of the,
Move your cursor around, it'll pop up on the bottom, maybe, Scott.
oh, okay, well. I think I'm in the program. Hang on. Whoop.
There you
All
go.
right. we're back in the swing.
Okay, jeepers. Sorry about that. All right, another, again, another shot of a Cooper's hawk adult. You can see that dark cap here. It's not a great shot in the sense of all the field marks. And again, you don't rely on one particular field mark. You use as many as you can. How, you know, is it got a strong white tip to the tail? What does the cap look like? How does the head project beyond the edge of the wings? Isn't it adult or an immature?
Someone in the chat, Mitchell in the chat said that it looks like they have a vertical stripe down their beak as well. So I don't know if you want to comment on that.
It's not based on, I believe it's a field mark. No, nothing that I've ever picked up on, but now this is again adult Coopers here.
Look at this.
Again, short, you know, for accipiters, broad, short wings, longer tail. Okay, immatures. Again, it helps to know, you know, obviously, if you're looking at an adult or an immature, when you start looking at these birds. Immature Coopers typically have this nice, fine, teardrop-like streaking on them. They're much whiter looking than the sharp shin. You got this fierce look about them. The immatures have this kind of a golden buff area around the face. The tail, which you can't see in this one, should be rounded. But again, the streaking on the sharp shin hawk was, as you saw before, is wider, bolder, more noodle-like as it goes at times farther down the belly. Here's another one, shows the hackles, giving that kind of a square head feel to it. And this golden area on the face here, young bird. Another one. Again, they look in general a lot whiter. The one thing I've noticed, other than my bird feeder, I rarely see sharp-shinned hawks out and about, landing on in near parking lots, streets, out in the middle of a field. Doesn't mean they wouldn't, but just been my experience. Here's an immature bird here. Nice thick legs, nice light streaking, long tail. Again, buffy brown around the face. Another Cooper's here,
Wow.
immature. This is on the roadway over in South Amherst a few years back. Just sitting around, looking around.
Karen, if you want to see some pretty cool pictures, you just have to see one or two. You don't have to see very many.
So anyway, here's another bird that was hunting the fields this fall out in Hadley. There's immature Coopers here. Again, that really, just look how white it is, and it's pretty uniform underneath here. And that's the end of the program. Just going to talk just a little bit about a goshawk, but that's extraordinarily rare nowadays around here. But goshawks will almost be like two-toned underneath here. But again, the streaking ends right around in here. It does not continue to the undertail coverts, which it does in a goshawk. A little bit of an eye line. Eye lines are there most of the time, but I've seen them without them, on both Sharpies and Coopers. This is probably the biggest Coopers I ever photographed. This was in Springfield. Tom Gagnon and I were down there in 08 looking for an orange crown warbler, and this thing just popped in. Had to have been a female. Thing was huge. Now, as I mentioned, Cooper's hawks, they're more, at least in my experience, more prone just to show up in open areas, more so than sharp-shinned hawks that, again, from my experience. Cooper's hawks will sit on chain link fences. This is over at the Hadley DPW. Or in the West Meadows, on one of the telephone poles. Again, you get that nice squared off look. A lot of times they have those hackles in the back of their neck raised. Again, this is an immature. Farm equipment in the East Meadows. I think this was a real rainy day. This bird was just getting back going again. Okay, here's a juvenile Cooper's here. Again, the fine streaking, nice rounded tail. Can't really get a lot of white on it from this angle or underneath, but wings are relatively straight. It's a kind of a lanky bird, longer looking. I had a photograph somewhere of this particular, what's a feature I wanted to show you, but I couldn't find it, so I got it out of the Birds of America. I see this in Cooper's hawks in the breeding season, late April, May, maybe into June. You'll see them. I've seen them over in Hadley, and these white undertail coverts they just flare them out, and it really stands out. It's just another little clue that time of the year. Again, you can see the white tip to the rounded tail down here, head projecting quite noticeably beyond the wings. An adult bird, it's got barring and not streaking. It must be these slides I brought in.
Scott, what time of year
Yeah, I
did
got-
you say that they
I'm
flare
sorry?
out? I said, what time of year did you say that they?
That was pretty much the breeding season.
Oh, breeding
So
season.
you
Okay.
see
thanks.
that late, probably when they arrive in late April. In the springtime, they're going to be moving through in April into early May, but mostly in April. And then they're going to start setting up nest sites not long after that. So, but I've seen them fly around Hadley and other towns, whether it be some type of courtship display, but those white undertail coverts, they really flare them out, and it's quite noticeable. So I think I'm going in the right direction here, but let's see. Okay, so here's an adult Cooper's hawk over here, adult sharp shin here. Again, darker cap with a lighter nape. Again, a lot of times they'll have these hackles raised. So it gives you that square-headed appearance, gives you a more sinister look in the thicker legs. Again, these are birds that might be sitting outside your feeder. Sharp-shinned hawk, more of a smaller head. You don't really see that nape in the back here. Larger eye appearing. Again, the barring. The color on the is a little more intense on the males versus the females. The legs are very stick-like. Can't really tell on the tail right here, but it's a smaller tail. Sharpies are a little more compact looking in general. Okay, so I pulled off some photos from emails that I got or from Facebook because at least when I go on Facebook, Western Mass Bird Photography, a lot of people over the years, put up, what's this? Is it Sharpshin or Cooper's hawk? And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I can tell, and other times I wish I had more info. But this one came private. I believe this is a Sharpshin hawk. Here's a starling that it captured. Legs aren't too thick. You got another shot here, the tail. The tail is fairly squared off. Got the white on the back. Doesn't seem to have that real golden look that the Cooper's hawk has. Seems to be kind of a smaller headed look to it. And so in comparison to that starling, it looks kind of small. But this is certainly, an area where others can jump into. This is nice Cooper's hawk. Can you see that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay, good. Yeah, Sarah Lambden took this, and just a nice shot, nice immature Coopers. And some of these, will just jump, oh, that's a Cooper's hawk. Oh, that's a Sharpshin hawk. But that's why we're all here. You get these other ones that are just kind of just the angle of the bird. And you know what? You just kind of leave them be. If you don't have to identify every accipiter. Here's a Cooper's hawk here. And again, nice golden color around the face, very fine streaking, so it's very white right in here. I think these legs are pretty thick. Kind of a lighter nape back here, give it, the hackles are raised a little bit, giving it kind of a squared off look to it. Oops. Nice Coopers here. Same bird, I think it was just turned around. Now this bird, you don't really see, the tail looks a little more squared off. Could be just the way it's holding its tail at the moment. I'm not seeing a strong white tip to the tail right here, but again, not all of these birds have that. Most of them do, but not all. And it could just be the way that that bird was just, at that moment, maybe it's just concealed a little bit. See a little bit of an eye line right in here. Young bird, yellow eye. Of course, it has a brown back, white spotting on the back. A nice little Sharpshin hawk here. Again, pretty uniform from the head to the neck here, the nape. Large eye, small headed look. This photo was sent to me, I think, through the Hitchcock. I believe this is a Sharpshin hawk. Again, looks as it has a large eye to it. I'm not getting any sense of a squared off or light colored nape right there. Tail does look, at least at this angle, might be a little rounded, but Sharpshin hawks, can have that. It's not written in stone that the Cooper's hawks tails are rounded and Sharpshin hawks are squared or notched. There can be a little variability in the species. So this is an adult bird. Another Sharpshin hawk. And another Sharpie here. This one's really, at least right here, shows it pretty uniform right through here. Kind of a large eye, dark eye. This one's got himself or herself a mourning dove. Squared off tail. It's not much bigger than this mourning dove. Another Cooper's hawk. Now I was doing some research. Cooper's hawks, they'll take stuff. My cheat sheet here a little bit. I want to. So obviously they'll feed on mourning doves, as does sharp-shinned hawks. And again, they'll take robins and starlings and woodpeckers. They'll take mammals. I saw one feeding at the Hitchcock Center a couple years back, ripping apart a vole or something. They'll take chipmunks. Some of the unusual stuff that it's been recorded they've taken over the years: ringneck pheasants, ruffed grouse, cattle egret, least bittern, kestrels, that's not surprising, sharp-shinned hawks, and burrowing owl. So there's another Cooper's here. This bird, I mean, to me, this just looks huge. I'm thinking it's a female, but it's a young bird, and it devoured something. Sent in by our own Jim Laffley. I think the real issue with this particular photo is, Jim, why is all the caution tape in your yard? What project is going on there? But this,
you would think it was, you can see if that's where we hang our bird feeders. That's what that thing is hanging down below him. It's not to caution the birds. We do a nighthawk party every year, and that bar is about 5'6", and many of us are over 5'6", unlike Patty and I, who are well under 5'6". So it was
okay. Wow,
not for
that
the
explains
hawk.
it.
Yeah.
But that's a nice picture of, again, juvenile Cooper's hawk. Kind of a buffy golden face, hackles are raised up, giving you a square look, very fine streaking right there. Nice long tail. Okay. Talk a little bit about, how are we doing on time? We're good. Northern goshawk. This bird has really dropped off the last 25 years or so. It's just really dropped off the screen. I can remember back in the late 70s when we lived in North Amherst, I would get adult goshawks like this coming into my feeder, just sitting in the trees, and occasionally, obviously, dive bombing them. I can remember seeing them pell them. I was talking to Tom Gagnon. Some of you know him. In the early 80s, he went out one late afternoon when he got out of work, and they knew where goshawk nests were. And in about 4 hours, he recorded, including the young in the nest, recorded about 16 goshawks. So that is amazing. There were some at Quabbin. He had a friend at Quabbin, and they got him inside the gates. And there was a nest in South Amherst off of Bay Road, and it was going up into Holyoke Range. I remember that bird nesting up there. It put me on the ground. Goshawks are extremely aggressive near the nest site. We didn't know where the nest was, but as we were getting close, this bird starts screaming and then come tearing down the pathway at you, and then you knew just not to go any farther. But goshawks, yeah, they've really just dropped off. They probably still nest, out in the Berkshires. Maybe there's a pair or so in Quabbin, but I haven't seen an adult goshawk in quite a while personally. This is almost a review species for the Mark Committee. It's just getting to be that rare. They feed on ruffed grouse, rabbits, that sort of thing. I took this photo in California. It's approaching 2 years ago. This is an immature goshawk. And look how wide this tail is. This is a big tail. And the bars, there's 4 or 5 bars here, depending on how you count them. And Cooper's hawks won't have that many tail bands here. And they're not smooth, they're jagged all the way across. That's a sign. It's a big bird. One of the books I was reading, maybe the Hawks in Flight, they said that they once heard that the goshawk is like a flying stovepipe. It's just all body and tail. It's another bird I got off the internet, but just shows you their supercilium here is generally very bold. Again, wide tail, almost to a point, the tail is. These birds have been confused with gyrfalcons, buteos, that sort of thing. Here's an immature goshawk. As I mentioned earlier, the Cooper's hawk, lighter streaking, excuse me, and it ends right around in here. Look at the goshawk. It goes all the way down to the under tail coverts here. And it's hard to see in this photo, but you can see it's a little darker here, a little lighter here, giving you that two-tone effect that's mentioned in some of the field guides. But they are very rare nowadays. And it's probably, you know, of a goshawk's nest unless you tell your friends, but it's one of those things now on the Mass Audubon site, the Breeding Bird Atlas, they don't, where if you go to these sites, you'll see where Sharpshin hawks have been possibles or confirmed, Cooper's hawks. They don't show the sites where the goshawks are, because one of the theories is that falconers will come in and take the young of the goshawk. It's a prized bird apparently in that industry. So they do not publicize goshawks nests. I mean, you can say that for a lot of other birds of prey too, but especially for goshawks, their young are what falconers want. Just another look at the tail here. I just couldn't get over just how wide this tail is. It's just a huge tail on this bird. I think that's about it. Yeah. There we go. Anybody there?
Yep.
Full screen. Oh, there we go.
Oh,
Anybody have any questions?
When you were showing streaking on the Sharpshin hawk, the chest kind of almost looked like the chest of a fox sparrow, where it was like patchy rather than streaky.
Yeah, it's again, the classic birds, you're absolutely right. I mean, it looks night and day compared to that Cooper's hawk. It's, that bold,
Right.
thick streaking there versus the Cooper's hawk. And again, when you see the stuff on Facebook, some of them are like your bird would have been, Cooper's hawk. But other ones you get just a little wrong angle or just don't see enough. It's not always easy. And these two species are, I hope I didn't make it sound like they're easy to separate, but you need to, you try to get the best look you can and as many field marks as you can. One field mark's not going to do it generally. You want to get, like any other birds, you want to get as many field marks as you can.
Yeah. I also like the large eye to head thing. That's another thing to look for, that a lot of us when we were learning looked for the smaller head and the square tail and things like that. But to look for, if you have it sitting, to look for that large eye is a good thing too. Yeah, again, it's many field marks. Does it look small headed? I mean, you get yourself a male Sharpshin hawk. This thing is very tiny. I mean, it's when you get into that female Sharpie,
male Cooper's hawk. They don't overlap, but they get close. And that's when things can get more interesting. Yeah. I mean, a real good female Cooper's hawk is, that's a big bird.
Yes.
In the chat, Mitchell said the goshawk head doesn't protrude past the wing fronts like the Sharpie in flight. So I don't know if you want to talk
It
about.
could have just been the, it's been so long since I've seen a goshawk at a hawk lookout or anywhere else. I can't say. I mean, I think it could have been just when the way that photo was taken. I would say that I would think a goshawk, it's a big bird. It's a big bird. I would think it would come out. It might have just been, I understand what the question is and how it was looking, but I would think it would extend beyond the the wings there noticeably.
Yes.
But again, it's a bigger bird. It flaps. It's nowhere near the quick flapping of a sharp-shinned hawk. Sharp-shinned hawk is really quick flap in the glide. Coopers, they're not quite as quick, more from the shoulder. And the goshawk it's been suggested it's almost buteo-like when it flaps.
And is the goshawk about the size of what is it in comparison, like to a red tail, let's say?
Oh, that's a fair question. Well, I believe it's smaller than a red tail off the top of my head.
Mhm.
It's definitely bigger than the Cooper's hawk, and it's broader. It's a broader body. I kind of chuckled when they said it. Reading through the hawk thing by Sibley and Clay Sutton, and it's been described as a flying smoke pipe coming at you, because it's just this big body coming at you. The tail is just a projection of the body. You see how wide that tail was, but they're just so rare around here nowadays. I think the last one I saw was up at Moran Refuge. You go up there early in the morning, you can sometimes every once in a while they'll be up. You have to take your scope, and they'll be up. If you look out over Moran, those spruces way off in the distance, and every once in a while one might be teed up out there, but they're just hard to come by.
And is it, you said that in New England there's more Cooper's hawks in the past 30 years?
Well, at least in my experience. Now, you probably get two different things. I would say just general birding here in the wintertime or in the fall, I'm seeing more Cooper's hawks. If you go to a hawk lookout, like at along the coast, down in Connecticut, it'll come to me in a second, Cape May, New Jersey, they're getting a lot of sharp-shinned hawks coming down through there. But sharp-shins, they say, have been declining though too. The Cooper's hawks in our region have just exploded.
Yeah.
Jeff LeBaron was telling me he was down in Tucson, and they were just like doves on wires down there. They're just, they have really taken to breeding in urban areas where the sharp-shin does not. So, and they, that's, I mean, at least at my patch, my feeder area, I get Cooper's hawks far more than I do Sharpies. Like I said, I haven't seen a Sharpie yet this winter. But someone who has a Sharpie in their neighborhood, they're going to have obviously a lot more entries into eBird, for example. But yeah, I haven't. It's just they're so local now. So Cooper's hawks, yeah, their population is growing up here in this neck of the woods, no doubt. I see it exhibited out in the honey pot, out in these meadows. My first thought, my first thinking, it's going to be a Cooper's, and then I go from there. That's just how often I run into them. Oh, thank you, Lane. I didn't realize they were bigger. Thank you for looking that up.
It looks like it's another male, female, could be pretty close in
Oh
size.
yeah, the females are larger in all the raptor species, and as you saw one photo, noticeably. So, no, thank you for looking that up. I didn't think they'd approach, but
Big, yeah.
you do.
So,
Yeah, they're,
if those who haven't seen the chat, it says the Audubon app says that goshawks are 20 to 26 inches and red-tailed hawks are 18 to 25 inches. So that's what we're
Oh.
referring to. Yeah.
yeah. So there's, there, again, thank you for looking that up. I didn't have that off the top of my head. And I know they're a big bird. I didn't think they would get up quite to the red tail size, but it's not, that doesn't surprise me. They're a big bird.
Now I
So-
just have to see one.
Well, that's the thing. And and I kind of say it kiddingly, but it's getting to a point where it's a review species, not like the Mark Committee. If you go on a tour, you put a goshawk in, and you don't put in some, details or anything, you're going to get an email saying, can you give me some more info on this?
Is there a part of the country where they're common?
I don't know. I don't know I certainly know in New England, you'd have a better chance of seeing a little farther north you go, but they're just not in Massachusetts or in Western Mass. They've really crashed. There used to be, the day Tom went out in the early 80s, I think he visited 5 or 6 nest sites. Yeah,
Wow.
that day. And, but that was a long time ago. And, but yeah, if you find a goshawk nest site, you'll know about it. These things they'll put you on the ground. The Cooper socks, Sharpies, a lot of other, unless you get right close to the nest, they're not going to do anything. Goshawk is going to come after you. No doubt about it.
This is Janice. In the past 5 or 6 CBCs, we've had at least twice as many Coopers as Sharpies.
Thank you.
Easily twice as many.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, there you go. There's another, like I said, I was just quoting my own personal eBird entries. And like Janice said, here we look at the Coopers. Interesting. Because years ago, it was all sharp-shinned hawks. It was Sharpie first and then Coopers, but nowadays it's Coopers first. My experience anyway. And Christmas count's kind of backing that up a little bit. Thank you for that. So in 1934, were there goshawks on the Christmas count?
Probably.
Probably lots of them.
There were either 25 or 34, 25 species, I think is all that was seen. I'll pull that up and post that. What were the species? There also were names that are, I don't know, that were not like black-capped chickadee, that were more generic.
Right.
And then you're like, so what bird were they seeing?
There probably also wasn't 200 people out looking at birds in 19.
No, I think there were 25.
Oh, a Quabbin count.
Yeah.
The other thing I did I look back in Birds of Massachusetts by, what's his name? Birds of Western Mass by Elliott. Forbush, thank you. And I just try to get a feel for what things were doing back then. The Cooper socks were around, but not like they are today. And the Bag and Elliott, 1937, when it was you read through some of this stuff, and there was a flight of goshawks in like 1926, and such person, shot 12 of them and had them stuffed, and stuff like that. Hawks were really being wiped out. Like Hawk Mountain, the reason they're there is these people used to go up there early 1900s and shoot hawks, all that kind of stuff. And there was, changing the subject ever so slightly, there's an entry in there, it's just amazing, the late 1800s, and they took out like 76 rough-legged hawks out of the East Meadows one winter.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen 76 rough-legged hawks ever.
That's like a
Certainly not in Western. That's a lot. Oh, it's amazing. So it's fun to go back through those old records and see what was going on. But so what's tomorrow night? Herring gulls, 1st through 3rd. Are you're gonna do that one?
Oh, I think you should do that one, Scott.
No, I don't think so. Yeah, no, this is great. I'm glad you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Scott.
Yeah, this is really, really helpful. Thank you so much.
It was. Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Thanks so much. It was very informative. See you later. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
And I lied. There were only 14 people the
Oh,
first
yeah, it
year.
had to be
Oh.
like a dozen.
25 birds, 25
14
species,
people, 25 birds. It's unbelievable.
25 species and 1,000 birds.
Oh, 25 species.
Oh.
Right.
Okay,
Wow.
cool. Thank you. All right. Bye, everyone.
Take care.
Bye.
Dude, back then, did they list the people?
We can't find it. I can't find it in, we can go back and get all the National Audubon is not finally put all, everything. You can pull up your count, the entire history, but they don't have people. But
Okay.
I'll pull up, I used to know what were the birds. I mean, I remember seeing what were the species.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
You know, Mary Alice kept all that stuff. So
Yeah, it's really interesting. That sort of stuff. It's amazing with birds. And I think that's what's so fascinating about it is that we have so many years worth of data that we can look back on.
we have one report that Leslie just finished helping out, which is everything we've ever seen. It's it's the last, it's 20 years because that's when we started doing electronics. So we haven't gone back and say, let's put this in prior to that, 1999 to 2020. Every bird we've seen, that's how I can know it's like 185. And the most we've ever seen in any of the most, all the birds, and then highlighted which is the most we've ever seen. That's what I pulled up to look at the Coopers and the Sharpies, because I could just
Yeah.
pull it across to see.
Oh, that would be
And-
interesting to go back in the 70s or 60s and see what that.
And we don't have, that wasn't kept electronically, but there is, I'm fairly sure I can pull up the report for the Audubon, because they then electronically put everything
Right.
on.
Yeah.
And you can get that. And then the effort, how many minutes of effort to find a chickadee in, whatever. They have that. It's like,
Of course. Yeah, that's so interesting.
given the amount of birds you saw, and how many were chickadee, well, they have it for every bird, but the amount of birds that you saw, the amount of effort, how many hours people spent, and then, this bird, a chickadee was seen every 12 minutes or something. I don't know. It's basically, that's what it says. A chickadee was probably seen every 12 minutes.
It's pretty cool because, I used to live in Western Mass in the 90s and then moved away and then just came back, the past 5 years. And just to see the difference of what birds people are talking about, like the Coopers and Sharpies is a great example, because it was always sharp-chinned hawks. And now I'm like, wait a sec, I'm confused. Because now it seems to always be Cooper's hawks.
Right.
So
They just-
I
they
see that
just
change.
exploded.
And then black vultures. I mean, that was like, I think it was only southern Berkshire County that you could see a black vulture.
For a while there, yeah.
Right.
moving
And
in
then
and-
now it's like, people are seeing them here and so it's
You're
interesting.
seeing them, there's a group of them up in Greenfield,
Right.
it's, they've been expanding.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to see that stuff. And it seems like bluebirds have changed too. Like, I
Oh.
feel like
Bluebirds are huge.
People were very much into, the bluebird trails and putting up boxes and everyone was concerned about bluebirds. And now they're like, I had 4 at my feeder today.
Oh, it paid off. It paid off. I mean,
Yep.
Janice has the numbers, but it's amazing the amount of bluebirds that we've had.
Yeah.
20 years or so. I mean, something like that. I mean, I can remember, which I didn't have a car back in the mid 70s, but bluebirds just weren't, you had to go kind of looking for bluebirds. And now they find you.
we used to have this special field trips looking for bluebirds and also bald eagles, in the
Yeah.
90s. It was, you had to go to Quabbin. We had all those special trips with Mass Audubon, go to Quabbin
Sure.
time to see bald eagles. And now,
Oh, I remember it was a big deal to see an eagle away from Quabbin.
right.
It was a big deal.
Yeah.
Saw one on the river. It was like, whoa.
Mhm.
Now it's just like, well, they're flying over the house and
Yeah, I know, right?
they're nesting. I mean, that program has just been terrific.
Yeah.
Peregrine falcons. There's another one.
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah.
they basically, the only way I ever saw a peregrine falcon, if you happen to be on a hawk site, 70s, and most of the time you didn't. They were that rare, but now they're doing quite well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah. So there are success stories.
Yes.
There are success stories. But it is interesting it'd be interesting to see how Sharpshin's, where the year was someday, where like Janice said, Cooper's Hawks are now outnumbering Sharpies on the Christmas count. When did that transpire?
Mm-hmm.
Ours have always kind of been ahead.
What's that?
They've always kind of been ahead.
Oh, the Coopers?
Yeah.
I mean, in modern times, yes.
Yeah. In the last 20 years. I'm saying in
Exactly.
the last 20 years. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I would agree with that. It's when back in the 70s or 60s and stuff like that, it'd be interesting what the numbers might have been, for example. Curiosity.
Well,
but you don't have that data in your database.
yeah, we do. I mean, Mass Audubon put it in the May, and so you can go to their historical results by count. And then you say, what count? When do you want to start? And when do you want to end? And
Mass Audubon did this or National Audubon?
National
Oh,
Audubon.
National Audubon. Okay.
And then you can get it in PDF, Word, Excel, taxonomic, common name, whatever. And export it.
It'd be
And-
interesting to also look at like red-bellied woodpecker with that,
Oh, well, I can remember going down to Southwick for
To see
red-bellied
one.
woodpecker. A
Mhm.
special field trip to go down to see red-bellied woodpecker.
Little did you know.
Little I know. And same with raven. I can't tell you. When ravens first started showing up out in Windsor, we would sit out there for like an hour or two on the side of the road, one of the side roads, hoping a raven would fly by. I had 6 fly over my yard just today. Almost had one at my feeder. Almost had a new feeder bird. He was honing in on the suet and something spooked him.
Oh,
Almost had him.
that would have been a very, very cool picture.
It would have been. But so yeah, these things that now are just like, oh my God, I spent hours out there freezing,
Well,
hoping a raven would fly by.
in 2000, we had 17 red-bellied woodpeckers to 85 downies. The following year, we had 63 red bellies and 264 downies. And this year, we had 340 red bellies and 493 downies. But this is our biggest year ever of red bellies. But they're now always in the 150 and higher. That's been true since we'll pull up this year, since 2010.
Well, even in the Quabbin count, we have nowhere near those numbers for red bellies. I can't remember what it was this year. I think it was new high count though.
Yeah, that's like ours.
And it's just been going up. The first few years of the Quabbin count, 6, 7, that sort of thing. And then now we're up into the 40s or 50s, something like that. So they're taking over. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. But this is, you can go and pull up the year at the Christmas bird count page.
Yep.
And pull up any historical result for any location. And you can just pick one year, you can pick many years.
Exactly.
And
Yeah, I didn't think to do that for this talk. That would have been interesting. What year was Sharpie more popular than Cooper's, and what year did it start to turn?
yeah,
I suspect it was in the 90s anyway,
I think so.
just off the top of my head. So interesting.
Right.
Well, this
Well,
is
yeah.
great.
Yeah,
And
this
the-
was fabulous. Thank you, Scott, so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
We appreciate it. And we appreciate that you let us record it because there were probably another 40 people who wanted to join in and
Oh my
And,
God.
and tonight, the emails came in, I saw them flushing into virtual birding. I mean, I did a thing, we talked about inviting other clubs to our things, right? Being open and inviting. And